Hey there, lady. It's good to see ya. So, I have these plans, and we were talking last time. I seen you how you wanted to do that thing with marketing. Well, I have the connection for you, and I'm glad we've talked 3 times now. So, I have a friend that is interested, but he lives a little bit outside of town, and didn't know if your schedule would allow it, but I'd love you to meet with him. It's opportunity of a lifetime, and I'll be right there with you. But I trust him. He's been great. He does very well, and the best just for you to see for yourself, because he has some great things that he could, help you with as well as myself. So why don't we take a ride over there? What do you say?
Well, that sounds fine by me. So, I'm excited. You did say this was going to come together right quick. But, yeah, you trust him, I trust you, so let's go see him.
We interrupt this program with breaking news out of Colorado. Authorities have confirmed the discovery of human remains in a remote area outside Denver. The findings are linked to a series of disappearances and have shaken the community over the past 2 years. Investigators say the remains appear consistent with multiple missing person cases, but forensic teams are still working to establish positive identification. At this time, officials stressed that no suspect has been named, and the investigation remains wide open. Law enforcement is urging anyone with information to come forward. As families of the missing continue to wait for answers, we will continue to bring you updates as this story develops.
Hello, everybody, and welcome again to Criminal Psychology Files. This is Greg Stewart, and today I'm bringing you an interesting story, maybe a little different than most. And the story is having someone that you don't know, though, is a serial killer. So here's someone that you've associated with. Here's someone that's been a friend or been friending you and making you feel comfortable. So what you don't realize is that they wear a mask, and their mask indicates who they're hiding, so you don't notice their true identity in reference to who they really believe they are. So we're going to investigate this. As you heard in the very beginning segment there of this person who says, I know someone that can help you. Now, who doesn't want help? And they've mentioned this on several occasions to make that person feel comfortable. They got to see him. They go, all right, you know what? This person's not weird. I've spoken with them. They bought me a drink here and there, maybe taking me out to dinner. We went in separate cars. Everything was great. And you develop some trust. You felt this person's okay. And then you share your dreams of what you want to happen for you. And this person says, well, you know what, I can help you. And then they make even more, basically wetting your beak, so to speak, because they say, and I'm going to get something out of this too. So now that seems like a little more realistic, because they're also looking to exceed to a certain area. So we have this common bond. So people like people who are like each other or who they admire. So this person liked both of those things. I admire you and I like you because we have similar beliefs in reference to wanting to succeed. Unfortunately, this person, after agreeing, let's go, the next report you hear is a breaking news on the news. And unfortunately, this person met their demise. So we're going to get into this story. But before we do, please like, subscribe, comment, and share, because it's up to you that's been helping us, and we do appreciate it with the growth of this podcast. So let's continue together and see if we can unmask the mask in reference to this person, using what we call in the business as Machiavellian, showing you something almost like sleight of hand, showing you something that you believe you're seeing, but is truly something else. And in this case, really macabre, really dark, and it takes it to a different level in reference to looking behind the mask. Coming up now on Criminal Psychology Files.
LeAnn Emry was the first person found by the serial killer, who no one had a clue would find interest in LeAnn Emry. Now, bit of the background of LeAnn was she was described as adventurous and trusty, but she had been involved in minor criminal activity, such as check fraud and other things to manipulate people at the time to get by, perhaps help a habit. But she would involve herself with people who were involved in criminal activity, and they were wondering at the time, could this be someone she knew, that she met when she was engaging herself in financial scams? At this point, the police had not much to go on. And looking for LeAnn, they could keep everything open so it doesn't become a cold case. To continue to have their investigators continue to look into whatever they can. But it was a little bit hard because they didn't know exactly the people that she was involved with. They knew that she was involved in criminal activity, but they didn't really know much more than that. And looking at her life and how she tried to survive, it was very difficult to locate anyone at this particular point of who would have had interest in killing LeAnn Emry. And so time would go by. And when they did catch on to some things, a couple things did come up. That LeAnn that day packed her bags when she told her parents that she was going to go hiking to Mexico. And then 2 weeks later, they found out that she did check in to the Grand Junction, Colorado hotel, not too far from where they found her body, where she would be found in a remote area and shot in the head. This is what they had so far. Now, as the crimes had moved forward, another person would come into play. Person few months just down the road, in reference to another murder that fit the pattern that LeAnn had suffered. But there was a difference in personality. This person wasn't much of a drifter. This person didn't have a criminal background that they were aware of. Her name was Jennifer Marcum. She was 25 years old, where LeAnn was 20. She was from Denver, Colorado. She was looking for work. She was a devoted mother, a daughter who was described by her family as loving. She did move in with someone, they said, of male persuasion. They would look at her previous jobs that no one still remembered a particular man that she was living with. She kept to herself. Now, during her timeline of her disappearance, Jennifer drove a Saturn. She drove to the Denver International Airport from Seattle. Car would be found in the Denver area at the airport. She was promised a job opportunity, and it was by a man with a spiky gray hair, husky built, and possibly in his 60s. They found this man to be Scott Kimball. Now, Scott had some connections in law enforcement, so he didn't have any red flags that made them wonder who he was and what he would be able to do to someone. Because of his experiences in law enforcement, they kind of turned the other cheek. And so, another person, in a similar fashion, found dead. A disappearance without a trace. Just a body found and left deep emotional scars for a family searching for answers.
So police have now discovered a second body in reference to the girl by the name of Jennifer, who also shared an age similar to LeAnn, where LeAnn was 24, Jennifer was 25. Difference, though, in reference to lifestyles. One had some criminal background. The other one was a hardworking mom trying to support her child. Now, what makes a person do this? Why do they do the things that they do? They find an interest. They paint pictures in their head. That's how these things usually will start. And then they fill in the voids. They fill in the script. Call it psychological, pathological Mad Libs, if you will. It's like, here's the picture. Now, how do you see this picture forming into a script? And that's exactly what this crazy person does and did, and what most people who have criminal backgrounds in reference to this kind of a caliber of a crime, and once they see it works, once they see the formula that it works, they then can utilize it because they said it was successful before, it can be successful again. And so that's exactly what's happening here. So this person is not going to stop. They're not going to stop because this is working. This formula that I generated is working. So, and then they even grabbed onto this person, Scott, who did happen to see, I believe it was Jennifer, and they said, look, we know she spoke to this person. Let's find out a little about him. Okay, he has background in reference to doing some work for us, whether it was bounty hunter or former years in law enforcement or informant or what. But this person, Scott, who could be someone of interest, but it starts to decrease because, well, he looks like he's worked with us before. So at this point, we're just going to continue to look into leads and see what we can find out. Now, again, you have LeAnn looking for a better life. Unfortunately, she's connecting to people of criminal intent. And then you have this other woman, which is a little different story, but a woman who is trying to make ends meet, going job to job, trying to find the right position. They find her car at an airport. So was she leaving to find other work? Was she coming into town? Someone grabbed her, found her, so on and so forth, but they knew her MO. They knew she was going to be there because her vehicle, Jennifer, was left behind. So how they talked her into getting in their car, or did they grab her? There was no video surveillance showing Jennifer being taken against her will or anything that ever came up at all in reference to her even getting in on her own free will into a car. So let's find out, is there a third victim? I believe there's a total of 4, and how it plays out, in reference to, do they get the lead to find this serial killer, and how they put a stop to him? Let's find out.
At this point, the police had not much to go on. And then another person would be discovered. A 19-year-old girl by the name of Kaysi McLeod. When spoken to Kaysi's family, they said she was a kind-hearted, loving child that she also took into her teenage years. Now, me and our father had ups and downs, but we loved our daughter dearly. Even though we went our separate ways, we were still involved in Kaysi's life. But Kaysi, looking for her identity, moving back and forth from Arizona back to Colorado, her household was anything but loving in reference to the complexity that she felt she wasn't getting because of a mother no longer was involved in a relationship and a father who was moving on with his own life. You tend to feel lost. You tend to question your identity. At this point, she struggled with independence and trust for the people who she loved. So she fell into partying, drug use, and one drug in particular, meth. She also found herself facing minor league issues, some credit card fraud, some partying after hours, disturbing the peace. But after going through these little stunts and things of life, she decided she wanted to turn her life around. She would tell her friends this. She would attend counseling. She was able to secure a part-time job at a local sub shop. And her mother, Lori, was the key to her recovery. She began to give her the love that she was craving. And Lori started dating a person who took very much interest in Kaysi's life. He seen something within her. But here's the thing about that. This person, who also had some connection to the person who was murdered before, Jennifer Marcum. The person who promised Jennifer a job just happened to be the man that was dating Kaysi's mother, Lori. His name was Scott Kimball, as you heard mentioned earlier. And Kaysi developed a trust for him. But what were the odds that Scott would be involved with Lori, who was the mother of Kaysi, and to connection of promising a job to the previous person, Jennifer, who also ended up dead? Did he have a connection with all three, was the question. Now, start to connect on being on the radar, but nothing really go on at this point. He would console Lori when he said that they're looking at me as a person of interest. They're just trying to wrap up loose ends because I knew the other person, but I'm a good Samaritan. I'm someone that's helpful. Wanted to help your daughter. I tried to help the person. It was just coincidental that I knew that person. And they started to connect to this because after discovering the cause of death, they discovered the cause of death, Kaysi. Well, it involved overdosing of alcohol and amphetamine and Oxycontin. Or maybe she was. Maybe she was just under the influence so heavily and so lost in reference to her identity that she didn't do, or should say Scott didn't do, the crime that at first he was being looked upon because of the cause of death of what happened to Kaysi. So Scott was able to be off the radar once again, get off the radar, police and the FBI. So who did this then? Who was responsible for killing 3 women, 2 that had a connection with Scott? But no real evidence was unraveling in reference to Kimball being the crime master of these deaths. Where would the case go next?
So now there's 3 women who are killed, and 2 are linked to Scott Kimball, who just happens to be married to Kaysi's mother. Kind of odd that he was in this circle, and the police are seeing this, and they're wondering if he was also linked to LeAnn Emry. And so this is the investigation. This is the pieces that they put together, and they do come to find out that he did know LeAnn Emry. They find out that through criminal background, that maybe he was an informant, maybe he did work for the police that took him off the red flag before, but he also had crimes of his own that were considered minor, trying to embezzle, trying to scam, trying to grab money from people. He had that in common. And maybe that was enough to whet the beak of a few people in reference to, I know ways, I got away with it, with these crimes that can bring us a lot of money. And now all of a sudden, 3 people are dead. So is he the killer? Because is it adding up to you? Is this something that you're seeing, or we really don't have the evidence at this point other than the connection that he knew these three, and that he also had showed a formula, or at least utilized the formula in reference to how to embezzle, how to scam, how to get money from people. So they all three had that in common in order to make ends meet. So he is looking into whether he is sincere in reference to teaching them a trade of crime and how to get money from people, but he's also utilizing a pattern here of going after women of weakness and prey as a predator, despite if he is a serial killer or not. He's using a technique. And remember what we said earlier, the serial killer is using a technique to lure people. And once he felt, or she felt, that the kill, prior to kill, worked and I got away with it, this formula will probably be successful again. And that's what's transcribing here. That's what's transpiring here. So let's see if there's a fourth victim and if they get enough evidence to find, is it Scott or is it not Scott? Let's find out.
The police would arrest Scott Kimball. They would arrest Scott Kimball on charges of fraud, taking advantage of people with fake checks. This would catch out to him, and they would arrest him. They would put together a connection of crimes that the women that were killed and the connection to Scott Kimball. Scott took it a step further, killing his Uncle Terry as well, because Uncle Terry knew about the crime that Scott performed. And Scott did not want to leave any loose ends.
Okay, so you know why we brought you in today. You were caught with check fraud, and while you were being held, you also stated that you wanted a plea deal because you felt there was evidence that you were responsible for murdering 3 women, and including one male, your uncle. And so you're looking to get a plea deal, and we said we would agree to that. Then you signed the paperwork on that in reference to a Jennifer Marcum, which at this point you failed to tell us where we could find her body. We obviously found the remains of LeAnn Emry and Kaysi McLeod, and obviously Terry, your uncle, Kimball. So 3 bodies were found in the remote areas of between Colorado and Utah, but we still never recovered Miss Marcum's body. So I guess one of the biggest questions, obviously, you admitted to the women and why you did what you did in reference to killing these women in a way and building up their belief system that you were going to help them and then in turn satisfy your needs. You killed them according to your admittance. But Terry, you described that you had to kill him because he was a witness risk when you didn't believe you were going to be caught. And so once you were recently arrested, you realized that if they got me for fraud, they're going to put it together that the women that were murdered were under the impression that you were going to teach them how to get away with fraud. You made them believe you were some form of expert in this. So according to speaking to your attorney, this is the reason why you have come clean in reference to what you did. And so, again, we don't have a body in reference to Jennifer, and we know now why you killed your uncle, because you thought you wasn't going to be caught. and therefore you murdered him. Before we continue to press charges and put you in a cell, do you have anything that you would like to elaborate on, Mr. Kimball?
Yes, I do want to elaborate on a couple things. I did have a friendship with these women, as well as Kaysi. I was seeing her mother. I developed a fondness for these women, and I genuinely wanted to help them. Unfortunately, I need him over me. And also, something that I wanted to build with them, and they didn't want that. So things got out of control, and one thing led to another, and they died. And as far as Jennifer, I just don't remember exactly where she is. And so I know people are referring me as that movie with Hannibal. I'm not a cannibal, but the way they referenced that I was a manipulator, they called me Joe Snitch, and because I informed and helped you guys as an informant, and I hope that's taken into consideration in reference to this case. And I know the families are upset for good reason, but there's nothing more that can be said or done at this point. There's really nothing more to say, and I'll have to take my punishment for what it is. And that's really it. Thank you.
Scott Kimball, a manipulator, a thief, a serial killer. And by looking at this podcast, you can see a formula in reference to manipulation and how people do things to get control, and they look for prey, just like Scott Kimball did. And then this is how much control and power and also fear of being seen, caught, or otherwise, he kills his uncle Terry. But this is the formula. This is the formula of a manipulator. And if you listen to the cadence, if you listen to the voice pattern, it's very slow. It's very controlled, because it emphasizes that Scott knew exactly what he was doing by speaking slow and not letting his emotions get the best of him. He stayed in complete control, and therefore, which actually makes him more scary when you listen to the interview with the police. There's no guilt. There's total admittance, because he wants to be valued and he wants to feel significance. And yet his voice cadence, knowing that he's in jail now. And this was also the person that each individual seen up until their demise. This warm, comfortable, easy to talk to, trusting personality. He made each and every person believe, and you can hear it in the way he speaks to people. So use this as a blueprint in reference to what to look for in a con man, or worse, in this case, a Scott Kimball. So this takes us to the end of this podcast, of this episode, in reference to Hannibal, or Joe Snitch, whatever title that he was given for his crimes, which they love because it just tells them when people look up or pull something up, or they're going to read about me, because this is how I also gained significance and value. So until next time, this is Greg Stewart with Criminal Psychology Files. Join us for future episodes. But before we go, please, once again, it really helps the growth and it means a lot to me. And I thank you for tuning in. But please subscribe, like, share, and comment. All of those things really help build this podcast. So until next time, thank you and have a great day or evening wherever you are.